If you've ever struggled with motivation when it comes to your goals, then this video is going to help you because I'm going to present a new way to think about your goals, as well as some actionable tips when it comes to goal setting. So back in the day, I used to be into running, and one thing that I heard about kind of a running technique when it comes to race day is this idea of reeling in the person that's in front of you. And so the idea is that you're running a race and you can see kind of everyone ahead of you in that race. And the idea is to choose someone who's ahead of you, like the next person ahead of you, and to reel them in. And that's kind of your goal for that part of the race, is to catch up to that person essentially. And this is how you can kind of get ahead of the other racers in the race. And so you reel in that person that you chose. And then once you've caught up to that person, you choose someone else who is ahead of them. And then you work on reeling that person in and the idea is that you continue to reel people in throughout the race as a way to kind of get ahead in the race. And if you think about another approach that you could take, you could choose someone who is quite far ahead of you in the race. Like, let's say they're like a few blocks ahead of you or something. You can see them, but they're quite a ways away. And so you decide to try and reel in that person. And so you are running and you're slowly getting closer, but you're still behind them. And let's say it takes you like 10 minutes in this race to finally reel that person in. That's not going to be as motivating as reeling in someone who's like 20 feet ahead of you and it takes you, let's say, like a minute to reel that person in. Then you've had that little win. You've had that little accomplishment that keeps you motivated. And then you reel in the next person and the next person and the next person. And over the course of, let's say, 10 minutes, let's say you've passed 10 people in that time and you've had 10 little wins, versus taking 10 minutes to just reel in one person who's quite far ahead of you. And you don't really have that little boost in motivation. You just have a lot of effort in between before you finally get that payoff. And so for me, I can relate this to goal setting as well. Sometimes we have really lofty goals and they can feel really far away. And let's say, like for myself, for example, I have this goal of replacing my 9-to-5 income that I used to make as an engineer with my own business. And that's like a big goal. I was making over $100,000 a year. And so that's just not going to happen overnight, right? I'm not going to reel that person in overnight. And so what is more motivating is to set kind of smaller targets along the way to keep me motivated and to keep me focused, rather than getting discouraged when you're realizing, oh, it's taking so long to get to this big goal. Another example that I can share from my own life is, let's say, getting this YouTube channel monetized. So I know what the requirements are to get monetized. I need to have 1,000 subs and I need to have 3,000 watch time hours within the span of 1 year, in addition to having recently uploaded 3 videos. And so this can feel like it would take a long time to reach this goal. And a lot of people often say it took them about a year to get monetized. And things are growing slow and steady here, but that's still a goal that will take some time. And the initial motivation that I had when I first started the channel is going to wane and taper off if my only focus is on that monetization goal, is on like the 1,000 subs and the 3,000 watch time hours. And so the idea here to reel in this goal would be to set quarterly goals that break down that ultimate, let's say, 1 year goal. Let's just say I'm assuming I'll get monetized in 1 year. And so where do I want to be each quarter in order to reach that goal? So that could look like each quarter, my goal is to gain 250 subs and 750 watch time hours. And that's a way I could easily break up that goal into quarters. And then that means each month I'll have, a subset of that goal. And I'll also have the actions that I need to take that are within my control as far as reaching that goal. And so it's really out of my control whether or not people are subscribing or how long the videos are being watched for. That stuff I can try and influence and try and learn and improve, but ultimately that is out of my control. And so focusing on what is in my control is I'm going to upload every week. and I'm going to try and learn from my videos and try and improve my retention and improve my thumbnails and titles so that people want to click on it, things like that. Those are the things that are within my control. So if we go back to my example of wanting to replace my 9-to-5 income, which was $100,000 a year, then that's making just over $8,000 a month. And when you're first starting a business, you're at $0 a month, and usually things will start out a little bit slower. So maybe you'll make like $500 here or there, maybe you'll make your first $1,000. And so when you're really focused on that $8,000 goal, the money you're making can feel so insignificant compared to what you were making, especially if you've quit your job and now you're building up your business. It's kind of feel like, oh, I'm only making $1,000 a month. That's not motivating because like I'm used to making, $8,000 a month or whatever. And so you need to set those kind of smaller quarterly goals that'll motivate you to get there. So it's like, okay, this quarter, my goal is to make $2,000 a month consistently. And then next quarter, my goal will be to make $4,000 a month consistently. And then the quarter after that, $6,000. And then, by the end of the year, I'll have the goal of making $8,000 a month consistently in my business. And by then I'll have replaced my 9-to-5 income. And so this can really be helpful in staying motivated. And so this is where I could see myself kind of psyching myself out back when I was doing some side hustling. So I would do photography, and let's say I sold a package for like $350 for a small like couples package. And so it's like, that's great. That's like an awesome win. But at the time I could really distort that win because it's like, well, $350 isn't going to pay the bills. And then I start thinking, well, how many $350 packages do I need to sell this month to even replace my income? And you sort of like go down that path, and it can be really unmotivating to start to think that way. But if I had set a smaller goal, for example, of like, okay, this month I want to make $500 from my photography side hustle. And then let's say I sold a $350 package, I would be ecstatic. It would be like, wow, I'm like almost at my goal. This is happening. I only need to sell like one more smaller package or one more package like this, and then I'll have even surpassed my goal, that sort of thing. And it's important to keep in mind that like all of these little steps is ultimately what gets you to your goal. Like if you want to make $100,000 from your own business, like you're not going to get there overnight. You're probably not going to sign like $100,000 client or something like that, right? You will have to take little steps to get there. And it's the same with, let's say, weight loss. If you want to lose 30 pounds, you're not just going to drop 30 pounds overnight. You're going to drop like a pound a week or 2 pounds a week or whatever. And you're going to slowly over time get to your goal. And so this technique is really just a way to keep your mind focused on the wins rather than focused on the huge gap between where you want to be and where you still are. So that's what the technique really looks like. It's setting, let's say, a 1-year kind of ultimate goal and then breaking that goal down into quarters. And then once you have kind of your quarterly sub goals, you can set tasks for yourself for each month. Like, what do I need to get done this month and over the next 3 months in order to reach that quarterly goal, or at least in order to give myself the best chance of reaching that goal. And so like I alluded to earlier, this kind of quarterly goal setting technique works really well with setting yourself tasks and focusing on what is in your control. And so like I said with the YouTube channel, the only things that are really in my control are how often I upload and how much I try and improve my videos or my scripts or my delivery, things like that from video to video. Everything else is pretty much out of my control. So when I set a quarterly goal of, let's say, gain 250 subs this quarter, and to do that, I am going to upload 4 videos a month, and I'm going to reflect on each video's performance, or I'm going to experiment with new hooks or new types of thumbnails or new titles or things like that. I'm going to focus on what's in my control. And then by the end of that quarter, I can assess my progress and assess what I've done. And then maybe I'll need to pivot my approach a little bit because maybe I came up short from my goal, but it's always keeping in mind a lot of the goals that we set are ultimately out of our control. And so it's really important to focus on what we can do to make that goal happen, not on external factors like who subscribes or who decides to watch a video or things like that. So this video has been a little short and sweet, but I hope it's helped you kind of reframe and think about your goals in a different way and how we can break down those goals into kind of bite-sized pieces that can keep us motivated as we hit little milestones along the way to our big goal. And to also keep in mind that when you're thinking about goals and you're thinking about the tasks that you assign yourself, make sure that those tasks are within your control and they aren't actually, external factors that you have no control over. So I hope this video has helped you, and let me know if it's kind of helped you rethink your goal setting, and maybe it's a new approach that'll keep you motivated along the way. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I love hearing back from you guys. And if you like this type of content, then consider subscribing for weekly videos like this. And with that, I will see you in the next video.